She sprayed blood all over his pants when she went by. She ran in the back
What?
door, bleeding all over the floor. And I ran and tackled her and took her outside and laid her on the concrete. And I was going through my head, oh my God, and Grant's filming this from above, and all my kids are gathered around, and she's got a hole inside of her neck, across her jugular vein that long. And I could stick my finger in it that deep, and blood just shooting out when her heart beat. And I had my hand on it, blood coming up through my fingers there.
Oh my God.
And I knew she was going to die. There were 30 minutes from a vet out in the country.
What?
No, couldn't call an ambulance. I went through all this in my head. I thought, she's going to die. And everybody's freaked out. And I just looked up to the heavens. I said, Lord, help her.
Oh, my God.
She went limp. And so I picked my hand up, and that hole was gone. Everybody saw it, disappeared perfectly.
What?
Like nothing had happened. She stood up, waggled her tail, and walked away. He filmed it all. And it didn't take long, that word got out. Next thing, I get a call from somebody connected to CIA. And he says, what are you doing this week? What are you doing tomorrow? I said, this is 2014. I said, it's July 4th. It's Friday. The day's the 2nd. My kids are coming home from college. We're going to have a party, for the family. He said, well, I need you in D.C. I said, D.C.? He said, yeah, there's a young boy up there that's really sick. And they've tried everything they can to help him. And he's got to make a wish. In fact, Barack Obama gave him his make-a-wish. And this child had mitochondrial DNA disease, meaning he could never eat. If he ate food, he threw it up profusely. He couldn't make nutrients from the food, so he was dying. And once they get the feeding tube, it's over. Usually they're dead right away. And I stayed to 1 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't an audible voice. It was like this message came, this telepathic knowing. And it said, just hug him. So when I went to leave, I reached out and hugged him at 1 o'clock. His mom asked me to stay the night, and I said, no, I've got a hotel down. And the guy that brought me there, he's reading a book, sitting in the back room, right? He stayed with me. And 1 o'clock in the morning, his mom calls me and says he's eating his second plate.
No way, dude. Are aliens and UFOs demons and angels? I've been getting a lot of comments whenever I mention aliens in my videos, and people say that they're demons. Now, I can see that they could be demons if they are doing things that are harmful. That we have people that are abducted, say that terrible things were done to them. I can agree that might be a demon. But there are other stories out there of UFOs and aliens healing people. And I've heard many stories like this, people that have had cancer or other diseases after being in contact with a UFO or an alien or a being, an entity, whatever you want to call it, they were miraculously healed from their ailments. So today, we're going to be diving into that a little bit. This guy over here on my screen, his name is Chris Bledsoe, and he has an incredible story, which happened back in, I think, 2012. We're first going to be going over a interview that actually Charlie Kirk had with him, and then we're going to be going over another interview with the Sean Ryan show, which was a more recent one about 7 months ago. I think it's a very intriguing, very interesting story, and I am very interested in the whole connection between aliens, UFOs, and the Bible. There are a lot of verses in the Bible, Ezekiel's chariot and things like that, where people have looked up into the sky and saw something with lights spinning around. So I believe that these could have been around for a long time. And one thing that I think is interesting that we're going to hear from Charlie is he's saying that the word angel means messenger. So it could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of people that are very adamant about their standpoint on this, and that's okay. You can have your standpoint, but I'm very curious onto this. I will not stop believing in UFOs and aliens because I've seen things myself. I've seen orbs in the sky. I've seen a lot of things I can't explain. And I'd like to have some more answers. So we're gonna dive into it today. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. So buckle up and let's get into it. Okay, so the first interview, I got this from Red Panda, but he also got this from the Charlie Kirk Show. This was in December 2023. Again, this guy's name is Chris Bledsoe. He has a book out there called UFO of God, which is something I'm definitely going to be looking into, definitely going to be watching, reading, because I'm very interested into it. So let's take a listen.
There's a lot of alien chatter right now. And joining us now is Chris Bledsoe, author of the book UFO of God, The Extraordinary True Story of Chris Bledsoe. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. I cannot possibly introduce your story as well as you can. So tell us your extraordinary story.
Well, glad to be on here, Charlie. Thank you for having me. And it would take a while to tell the whole thing because it's ongoing. But basically, it started in 2007 with a fishing trip with my son and 3 other guys, and turned out to be 4 hours of missing time and a whole lot more. And but yeah, it's all in the book. This complete story. In 2007, January the 8th, I had just come through. I was a home builder, building 100 homes a year. And the 911 Desert Storm thing wrecked our economy and caught me off guard with too many houses on the market. And I was pretty much down on my luck. And at the bottom, I was really having a hard time. Lost my home. Had 4 children at the time that were little, and having to struggle to even get them school lunches. And so I was out crying out to the heavens, help me. And suddenly these 3 large balls of fire, they look like the setting sun, that color when you can look at.
And real quick, I don't actually know if this is actual footage from him. I mean, it looks like actual footage. I have no idea.
It doesn't hurt your eyes. And I walked up on them, and next thing I know, I was hiding, scared to death at what I was seeing. And I had no clue when I walked back up to the campfire where they were fishing that 4 hours had passed. And for the longest time, I didn't know what had happened there. And I still have vague memories of what happened while I was away. But it followed me home, and ended up starting to interact with my whole family, my wife and my kids. And to this day, it's been witnessed by hundreds of people with me. But it was... I don't know the best way to tell what happened in those 4 hours other than I was sick. I had Crohn's disease, and I was unable to work, and I was crying out. And when they brought me back, I had no more Crohn's disease. It went away. But that started a whole lot of trouble because I'm born and raised in the Bible Belt, and I came home talking about, not being sick anymore. And then the whole community basically started telling me I was playing with the devil. And it's just been it's one more struggle from the very beginning of this thing. But it was a blessing to me. The whole thing was a blessing, but it turned out to be really hard on my children, my wife, and my family.
I mean, I can relate to that. I'm not relate to it the way that he is, but I can understand what he's going through. Being someone that I personally don't think that UFOs and aliens are malicious. I know a lot of people say that they're demons. My whole thing with it is, if they were going to do something bad towards us, they would have done it. I mean, we've had sightings since the 1940s, whatever it is. I don't even remember how long, since the Roswell crash and stuff. They've been going around nuclear plants and stuff. All the things that I've heard is that they would shut down nuclear plants because they don't want us to kill each other. They don't want us to blow up Earth. They don't want us to do things that are going to put ourselves in danger. A lot of people have been healed. Are there abductions, like I was saying? Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely heard of certain things happening, like cow mutilations and stuff like that. That could be demons. That could be the devil. But I really don't think. Again, like, I feel like if it really truly was the devil, wouldn't they have just eliminated us at this point, or enslaved us, or something like that? I mean, they have the technology. They clearly have the technology to do stuff like that. So, like, why wouldn't they have done it? So I understand, like, every time I bring up aliens and UFOs, everyone's immediately like, they're demons. They're demons. Ah, demons. I get it. But can we be open to the fact that maybe they could be demons and angels? Maybe.
So just so I understand, according to your recollection, you're there. You cry out to God. There's 4 hours of missing time. Do you believe that you were transported up to a UFO? Is that correct?
Well, I don't really know that. What I do know is what I saw were balls of fire. I really never saw a mechanical machine. It was just 3 large balls of fire. Actually, more than that. There were 3 that landed across the river in front of the whole group, and then 3 up at the road where I was missing time. But I think the balls of light took me. I really don't know. I know they looked for me for hours and couldn't find me. And we were down in the middle of nowhere, so there was nowhere for me to go. And but yeah, it was. They definitely took me somewhere.
And so, why do you think that these are aliens, or whatever filler term, and not spirits? What do you speculate them to be? Because you say then your Crohn's was solved. Is that right? It was healed afterwards. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely. Well, to give context, I've struggled with this for 17 years now. What is it that took me? All I can go back to is I was praying. I was calling on God, or whoever's up there. I was desperate. I had just come through a near-death experience, and I was unable to work, 45 years old, with 4 children, and sick, really sick. And I was crying out to something, whoever's up there, to hear me. I was raised in a church. And so when it came, it took me and brought me back. It left me not knowing anything. I had no clue what happened, other than my Crohn's was gone. And we saw these things. Everybody saw them. The whole group did. And we still do to this day. In fact, we study them with government officials, with military people, scientists, and so on.
Wait. So they still see them, and the government is studying them with him. What? I don't understand why this isn't, like, all over the news. I don't understand, like, why. So CNN, ABC, Fox News, all these things. Why aren't we made aware that the government is studying things that this guy sees? Just that, oh man, it doesn't make any sense to me.
So after years of receiving mixed responses from people, you had another encounter on Easter of 2012. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that was the turning point, the change in the direction of where we were heading. For the first 5 years, it was pretty much a curse, because when I would talk about it, well, the whole community just came down on me, and there were people trying to to take my children away. They thought I was crazy. They were bringing holy water to the house and sprinkling me and my property and my children. And I'm crying. I'm saying, look, I was praying to God. I wasn't praying to the devil. And I don't get it. I don't understand. So it turned into be a laughing stock at school for my children. They were coming home and crying. And so I got upset and decided that I'd never talk about it again. And when
I mean, this is obviously times have changed since then. And I don't think that people would be really made fun of in school the way that his kids were being made fun of in school in 2012. But I mean, that must be terrible. It must be terrible to, have to go through that and have people not believe you and come and say that you're working with the devil, and when you are praying and you're not working with the devil.
The next experience was this. All I can tell you, it was just the most beautiful lady I have ever seen. She came, and she came in the middle of the night, and she told me, she said, this is your burden. You have to tell this. And if you will, I'll help you. I'll bless you and let you film us and let you share our presence with the world. And so help me. From that point forward, I started being able to share with others. And I have done so with the highest authorities, from CIA to DIA to U.S. The Department of Defense to scientists from different colleges and universities. And it all happened after this beautiful lady came. And believe me, I was born and raised a Baptist, right? I had no idea who some spiritual female would be. But I don't see them as aliens, Charlie. I don't see it that way. I see them as spirits, basically. It was a spiritual experience for me then, and it still is to this day. But what I can't put my thumb on it yet to tell you what it is we're dealing with. It's just going to take a lot more study. But I know how it reacts to me. I know what I say to make it come.
I honestly feel like we need to have more of an open mind when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't feel like people should be ridiculed and like almost cast out by society if they see stuff. I mean, I think a lot of the stories in the Bible are from people seeing things, and a lot of people hold those stories to truth. And we now, go back and look at those stories and reflect on those. But then if something happens in the present day, a lot of people will make fun of you or cast doubt or say you're working with the devil or this and that. I mean, I feel like we need to have more of an open mind. Who's to say that things that happened in the past, like when the Bible was written, can't happen today? Why can't things happen today that happened in the past? I mean, obviously it wouldn't be written in the Bible, but like why can't history continue? Why can't new people have experiences, So I kind of feel bad for them, especially as kids.
Chris, I want to ask you, do you believe these are spirits? So why is the term UFO involved? Just help me connect the dots here. Unidentified flying object, spiritual interactions, because you obviously would not be the first person that I've ever met that has claimed to have interactions with angels or demons or an invisible dimension. But you're now connecting it with a UFO. Help me understand that.
Well, when there's a reason I did that. I've studied this thing for the last 17 years with some of the best scholars out there, and going through the whole thing of what happened to me and still happening and the way it reacts. It's not I have seen mechanical machines. I have seen those. And it appears that these orbs can morph into those. They can do either one. So what I wanted to do is bring this front and center. Is the UFO that we're seeing, is it related to the biblical story? And a lot of people think it is. And the way it reacts, I tend to believe is very closely related in some way. So they were UFOs. They were unidentified. And they took me and they brought me back. And I was calling out to God for help. And so that's the confusing thing. It responded in that manner to me, but it was unidentified. So it's, I think the title's fitting, and I think there's going to be, there's a need for a whole lot more study here to see what it is that we're dealing with. I can tell you this, I get thousands of emails, probably 5,000 this month, and everybody wants to tell me their story. And the majority of the people that write me tell me, 99% tell me that when they started seeing lights in the sky, it was because of a trauma, a loved one passing away, mother, dad, child, and a whole lot more. So somehow or another is tied, Charlie, and I think it's going to take a lot more work to find out. But we're working on that. We're working.
Interesting.
So Chris, what are you still a Christian after these experiences?
Yeah, I'll never change.
So
in fact, I'm stronger than I ever was.
So then you believe that you are able to come in contact with angels? Is that your working hypothesis?
That's my thoughts. Yes. That's what I believe. But I'm not 100% sure. But I can tell you, in 17 years of dealing with this, it's not tried to harm me. It's been blessings, and I've seen a lot of people healed from this. Blessings come from it, and it's in the book. There's stories about people in Washington that had blessings from this. People with cancers that disappeared. Why? I don't know. I have no clue.
Do you believe that these were messengers? Because that is the word for angel in the Bible means messenger.
Yes, I really believe. I believe that.
What is the main? Can you said you can summon them at any time? Is that correct?
Well, I don't like to use that word summon because that sounds dark. But simply
that sounds demonic. If you can summon someone, I agree that you shouldn't say that word.
What I do, I walk out, and usually it's connected somehow or another to where I don't have to do much but go outside. When I walk out, they see me, and here they come. If they don't, I'll say a little prayer, just like I did on the river, and they respond to that in that manner.
So what has been their main message to you?
Could you imagine that, by the way, that like every time you walk outside, these things, messengers, angels, whatever they might be, just come and start communicating with you? It's wild.
I think the world's in trouble, Charlie. I think we're at a crossroads, and we've got to wake up. And that's the main message I'm getting here, that it's time that we all come together and quit fighting over what we perceive that we know when we really don't know what we think we know.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's pretty crazy to hear him say that, considering he's talking to Charlie Kirk. Oh, man. Wow. That is, wow.
It's, I think we're at the crossroads of a new world and a new knowledge. And I think they're going to help bring that about.
Chris Bledsoe, check out his website, UFO of God. That's ufoofgod.com.
Well, that was powerful, listening to Charlie Kirk talking about how, the word of angel is messenger in the Bible. It's interesting to hear him, considering he was healed, that he was praying when they came. Because, you guys tell me all the time, go out and into nature, go out on your walks and ask him to reveal himself. Ask him for help, ask him for knowledge, ask him for this. If you are praying and you see these things in the sky, why would you think that that's the devil? Now, I know you can play devil's advocate here and say, well, it could be disguising himself, but then why would he be healed? Why would other people be healed? Doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, he's not, the devil's not using this guy to do anything malicious. He's talking about how, we're in trouble and we need to come together. And if he really was being possessed by the devil, or the devil was sending him messages, why would the devil ever allow, or these demons, why would they ever allow him to say kind words like that and to try to get people together? And for him to say that he's a Christian, that he was praying and stuff, none of that makes sense to me, that it would be a demon or demonic in any manner. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. All right, this is another show that he was on. This was actually last year, 7 months ago this year in February. He's talking again. I skipped the area where he discusses the incident that he was talking about. I want to go over again what he was talking about, the miraculous healing, because I do think that that's an important part of this, thinking about that they may be angels. So let's take a listen.
And next morning, when I get up, about 10 o'clock that day, I hadn't had my medication, and I had been taking medication for 17 years for Crohn's. And if I missed it one day, it was suffer time. Yeah, I'd take it every day. If I missed a day, the next 3 days, my system would get out of whack, and it was more restroom, right? And I didn't feel the normal sickness that I normally have. I didn't feel the nausea. I didn't feel any of it. And I thought, this is weird. I've been living with this every day, and now I don't feel it. And from that point forward, I never had another symptoms of Crohn's disease. It was completely gone. I've been to Chapel Hill University. I've had specialists check me out from top to bottom, and there's no marker for Crohn's being there. And see, I come down with rheumatoid years later, 2009. And I've been treated since then for rheumatoid arthritis. And they thought it was the Crohn's that had come back. But it wasn't. The Crohn's didn't come back as rheumatoid. There's no marker there. And RA was a different story. But long story short, that was the end of the January 7th initial encounter. Walking back to that house and trying to get my son settled down from the shock that he'd been through. And now I'm in shock basically myself, but not because of seeing this stuff and trying to process it. It's not natural. It's not normal.
What was your first conversation with your son afterwards?
I told him, I said, son, I believe they're angels. He said, no, Daddy, they had to be, no, he couldn't even get it out. They were demonic entities. I said, no, they weren't, son, they were angels. They healed me. So we battled that for months. And here's the thing, it never left me. I mean, it never left. And to this day, it's still with me. And I mean, stronger today than it was back then. This is why the government has studied me. They've studied me more than any human in existence. From DIA, CIA, DOD, the Ministry of Defense in England, the CIA.
I've never heard of this guy except for recently. So the fact that he's like one of the most studied humans in history, why isn't this all over the news? Unless it was all over the news and I didn't hear about it, but I've never heard of him. Why aren't people talking about this? I don't understand.
Jim Semivan wrote the foreword to my book. He's the director of operations for the CIA. John Alexander wrote the foreword or introduction. They both shared in right. So we went through the longest time trying to convince him, I did, that it was positive, and it got worse for him, because from that point forward, this is where I want to say, if I could say this word, this is where hell set in for me, because I'm telling everybody. They put it in my head that night that I had to tell the world. So I compared myself to Richard Dreyfuss on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where he was making the mashed potato Devil's Tower on his table. He could see it. He was completely obsessed with this phenomenon. And I was as well. All I wanted to do was tell everybody. Well, that was the worst thing I did, because now the church comes down on me. You're playing with demons. It's got to be demonic entities. I'm like, no, it's not.
Who was the first person you told?
Probably my wife. She came home a couple days later. She'd been gone, and of course we'd called her and all. But
see, I think that's so closed-minded, though, and I think this is why a lot of people have a lot of negative thoughts about the church too. Once the church thinks about a certain thing, it's got to be what the church says. No one else can have an opinion. I think that's what a lot of people have like a gripes with the church about. I think we need to have an open mind. Times are changing. Now I know he's talking about many years ago, so I'm sure that certain churches probably have changed their minds on certain things, but that's not helping anybody. It's not helping anybody to come down and be like, you're playing with demons, and that's the only way that you can think. I'm sure some of you guys are going to say, oh, they definitely are demons. I get it. But I think we need to be open-minded here. Why was he healed? Why is he being told to tell this story and to help the human race? Why would the devil do that? Why would demons do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like let's think about it logically.
She goes, and let me say, her family are they brought the Pentecostal movement to North Carolina. They went to California. They were at Azusa Street. Her, ancestors. They brought it back to Falcon, North Carolina, built orphanage. So I had the weight of the whole conference on me, not just some local church down the street. So there was a lot of power there. And other churches, to local churches, my mother, my very religious lady, all at that time, they all automatically resorted to it's the devil, it's demonic, And I'm saying, but they healed me. And that wasn't what I experienced. And they got so bad that they tried to take my children from me. They wanted to divide my family. They were telling my kids that I'm playing with the devil. Mm-hmm. He's going to ruin them children. Somebody called social services on me. I had to deal with that, with the government, to try to just to keep my kids, right?
Wow.
And so, yeah, that started a really hard time.
You had mentioned that the third object that appeared seemed to know your thoughts.
It does.
What exactly does that mean?
These things can read your mind. They're connected to our thoughts. This is why one thing I can promise you if you're a God-fearing man and you know the Bible, one thing that the church knows is they always preach. You hear it all the time. Only God can read your thoughts. Only heaven, not that the devil can't read your thoughts, right? So this
Interesting.
is something taught to all Christians from early on. The devil can whisper in your ear, but he can't read your mind. Well, they read your mind, and they know they're connected to us. They're connected to our thoughts. They know your heart. They know your intentions. And somehow or another, Sean, they have the ability to stop the timeline, to manifest things, to make things happen, and to I've seen it 1,000 times. People come to see the phenomenon with me. I've as many as 75 with me at the time, and it appears. But there are certain people, if they're
Wait. You can go and experience this with him? How do I sign up? I want to go see it.
afraid, or if if they're skeptical, I can tell you, skeptical people about this phenomenon will never see anything. They're left out because they know your free will. They don't want to change your, go against your free will. But they can appear in a group of 50 people standing beside me, and that one skeptical person will look that way for 1 second, and it'll appear in front of everybody else. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Huh.
It knows where you're going to look before you look.
Interesting.
And so in 2012, at Easter of 2012, this is when everything changed. This is really what got the U.S. government knocking on my door. This is why I'm here today. 2012, Saturday night, Easter. Sunday morning's Easter, right? At 3 o'clock in the morning, so it's actually Easter Sunday morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm asleep in the bed, dead asleep. That night before, I had all I could stand, seeing my kids coming home crying and the whole community making fun of the family and my dad. And now they've been experiencing this stuff. They know it's happening, but they couldn't contest adults, right? They wouldn't talk back. They knew better. But it had really, my little girl coming home crying from people picking on her. So I walked outside that night. And I remember I had this desire to tell it to everybody. I had to tell it. It's like the Richard Dreyfuss Close Encounters thing. So I walked outside that night at 9:30, and I looked up to the sky, and I said, thank you for ruining my life. My children. I said, thank you for healing me and proving to my family that you're real, but this life is worse off now for my whole family. I'm better physically, but now my family is in shambles.
That would be very tough. Very tough to deal with.
All cause of me. And I shouted it to the heavens. And I see these things. They're coming. These orbs are always around. And I knew it hurt me. I knew it was. So I went to bed. 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear the same voice, the same little being that spoke to me and said, I'm here to help you, not hurt you. I heard that same voice. And it sounded like a man, really deep. And it said, arise. That's all I heard, that quick word, arise. And it was so deep. It was like thunder in my room. I jumped up from laying in the bed, dead asleep, to sitting up in my bed, and it's dark. I can't see. And there was 3 o'clock on back then we had a clock, alarm clock, and it said 3 a.m. Next thing I know, I see movement in the room. Whatever they did to me, they caused me to get dressed and follow out the door. Now I'm outside, and I'm walking towards my dog kennel at 3 o'clock in the morning, fully dressed, clothes from being asleep. And suddenly this figure hands me something. As far out as it sounds, now I'm telling you, it sounds crazy. And it took me 2 weeks to tell it because they all labeled me crazy, and I stopped talking about it. Now 5 years later, this happens. And what happened was it handed me this object, and it felt like a living creature, like a squirrel maybe, or something that size, but I couldn't see or feel legs or a head. It felt just like a tube, but furry and kind of prickly.
What?
And handed it to me and said, you must keep this. Immediately I drop it because I know what it was, and it was prickly. And its words came again, no, you must pick this up. You must keep this. So I reached down to pick it up. When I did, this being that was standing there is now gone. And I'm at the dog kennel, so I'm juggling it in my hand. I know I need to see what this thing is. It's dark, so I opened the kennel and put it in and closed the door. And the very second I did that, this blast of air come directed. It wasn't in the woods and around us. It was right straight in front of me. A blast of air hits me and blew me over. The wind. Later on, I understood the Holy Spirit. The word spirit means the wind. The Holy Spirit means the breath of God.
Huh.
So I had to put this in there. But it was the wind. A physical force blew me over. And as I hit backwards on the ground, I saw what appeared to be a translucent cow. A bull
What?
run over me, and I could see stars inside of it, up through it.
That's what they had handed you?
Well, what they handed me, I put in the kennel.
Mm-hmm.
When I locked the door or closed the door, now a blast of air next to the woods hits me, and out of that wind, when the wind hit me and blew me over, with that wind was a translucent cow or bull, a big one,
Okay.
went over me, and it didn't hurt me, but I could see it clearly. I could see the stars inside. This is really strange because I'll get
It's definitely strange.
I'll get back to this in a minute, right? Of something I just saw, discovered with a guy that studies Egypt, Dr. Robert Grant. He discovered that bull inside the king's chamber. There's never been a inscription in that pyramid nowhere. So he goes in with LiDAR, and there's that bull, celestial bull, with stars inside of it.
What?
And I just worked this thing out. He'd seen it. He shared it with me. And when I told him what happened to me, he got some other clues out of that. But it was exactly what I saw. But now listen, when the bull went over, I land on my back and I'm getting up the run. So I roll over. Now I'm looking this way. And behind me, there's no cow anymore. There's a woman there. She's about 3 feet off the ground. She's glowing just the color of the moon. There's a circle of light on the ground. And she looks at me and she says, you know why I'm here? And I knew I was crushed, basically, because I'd had this overwhelming desire to tell the world what I'd seen. And then that night I cursed at the heavens and said, I'm never doing that. I'll never speak again. And now she's like, you know why I'm here? This is your burden you must bear. She said that. She said, if you'll tell this story, I'll always be with you. I'll allow you to share our presence with others and film us. So help me. I never had a picture of anything for the previous 5 years, only inside the house. When people see this or out in my children. Now everybody's coming to the house and it appears overhead. It appears around us. And it's greater today than it was then. And magic started happening. And when that word got out, then comes this government. They want to know about this lady.
Wait a minute. Okay, so this is the actual footage of some of these orbs? Whoa. What? That's pretty crazy, to be honest. So I've seen orbs looking like that, except the one that I saw went around in a circle, stopped, and then went off like really fast. The whole interaction was only like, I want to say 5 seconds, but I've seen stuff like that. Not like that, not like what it did with the spinning around kind of thing. That was pretty crazy. But I don't know. There might be other footage. I have no idea. I just quickly looked it up real quick just for just for giggles, you know.
So the initial, what was it that you were handed?
I've been asked that a million times. I don't know. It was like a living creature.
It was living. It was moving around.
But it had no head or legs. It felt like if you had a squirrel in your hand or a hedgehog, that prickly. It felt like it was living, but it had no head or tail. And I asked the lady what this was, and she told me it was symbolic of humanity. It had lost its direction. Had
Interesting.
no head or no tail. It completely lost its direction.
Huh.
And it vanished when I went
right
back.
on the money with that.
Yeah. Exactly. And she told me a lot of stuff that I never revealed to this day. I haven't revealed a whole lot of it because I don't want to sound like a prophet or any of that. I just don't. My goal is to share this story with everyone and share the phenomenon, which I have been able to do.
What did the figure look like that handed you the object?
It was a shadowy being, like a shadow being. So when you see these, you see this shadow of a human figure, but you can't really see the details. It's like a shadow. It's like a ghost, you might say. And I have pictures of these little beings, and they look like ghosts. I have a video of one of these beings coming out of an orb. Flash. And
Can I see that video?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you one. It's 6 foot tall, 7 foot tall.
What?
And when it did that night, a young lady with me was healed from cancer.
That's
This happened in
amazing.
2015.
That's amazing.
But so
What did the bull represent, do you think?
I had no clue. Remember,
You worked with Robert Grant?
Robert Grant is who I was with last at Contact in the Desert a couple months back, and Robert was showing the Oculus to me about what he had discovered in the pyramid. So he put these goggles on and he does this LiDAR, and their biggest daylight is a bull on the side of the wall in the king's chamber. You only can see it with this technology he has, and the stars are inside.
That's amazing.
And above it is a helix of DNA. And then on the sarcophagus in the king's chamber is the Alpha and Omega symbol.
Wow.
What do you think that represents?
Alpha and Omega is God, the beginning and the end. The bull is the celestial bull. To me, the lady that came to me is the Holy Spirit, the breath of God, the wind, the Virgin Mary, Hathor, Demeter, Diana, Parvati. In every culture on every continent, they all have a mother figure, all of them, including the Egyptians. They believe in the Trinity. When you read the Egyptian stuff, it was, in the beginning, it was Pitta was the father, Met was the mother, and then they had, it changed to Ra, and then Hathor, and then Horus. It's just the divine Trinity. They have a triad. And I think that the lady, the women, the feminine was taken out of the equation by a bunch of men in 2,000 years ago and oppressed all the women, kicked them out, and said, you can't be in the church. It's a boys' club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from that point forward, the women have been oppressed. They're made to wear things over their face and head, and even up in the 60s and 70s. Me growing up, there was a great oppression on the women.
Interesting. There's one more section I want to just listen to here. It's called the burning tree incident. I don't know what this is going to say, but we're going to listen to it.
2 weeks later, this journalist comes from Canada, calls me. I want to come see that burning tree. He'd heard about it. He's heading to Florida, so he stops by on the way. I live right along 95. Stays the night, goes to Florida, and he comes back. Comes again, wants to see more of the tree and get more story. So my kids are all home. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He drives up the driveway. He pulls up, gets out with his camera. No clothes, no bags. He just gets out. He wants to go see this tree and film it before dark. He's out there at the tree. I'm with him. There's a Labrador, a dog. There's a Nellie, a full-grown female lab, laying there beside us. Everywhere I'd walk, she'd walk. We get back to the house. We stop just short of the door, and Nellie stops, and she's laying there, and Grant and I are talking, you know, just glad to see one another. And I'm like, you want to stay the night? I get the kids to get your bags. And they were all out there. There was 6 or 8 more people outside. He said, yeah, I'd love that. So he's between me and the back door. The house is open, the back door is open, the windows it was in May. It was May the 11th or May the 5th. It was only 2 weeks after Easter. Nellie stands up and starts toward the door when Grant turns. And when she walks by him, I see blood come out of her neck. And it shot way out like a stream of blood. And it's like I freaked out. And Grant saw it. And she sprayed blood all over his pants when she went by. And she ran in the back door, bleeding all over the floor. And I ran and tackled her and took her outside and laid her on the concrete. And I was going through my head, oh my God, and Grant's filming this from above, and all my kids are gathered around, and she's got a hole inside of her neck, across her jugular vein that long, and I could stick my finger in it that deep, and blood just shooting out when her heart beat. And I had my hand on it, blood coming up through my fingers there.
Oh my God.
And I knew she was going to die. They were 30 minutes from a vet out in the country.
What?
No, couldn't call an ambulance. I went through all this in my head. I thought, she's going to die. And everybody's freaked out. And I just looked up to the heavens. I said, Lord, help her.
Oh, my God.
She went limp. And so I picked my hand up, and that hole was gone. Everybody saw it, disappeared perfectly.
What?
Like nothing had happened. She stood up, waggled her tail, and walked away. He filmed it all. And it didn't take long, that word got out. Next thing, I get a call from somebody connected to CIA. And he says, what are you doing this week? What are you doing tomorrow? I said, this is 2014. I said, it's July 4th. It's Friday. The day's the 2nd. My kids are coming home from college. We're going to have a party, you know, for the family. He said, well, I need you in D.C. I said, D.C.? He said, yeah, there's a young boy up there that's really sick. And they've tried everything they can to help him. And he's got to make a wish. In fact, Barack Obama gave him his make-a-wish. And we have all the photos of him shaking Barack Obama's hand. Michael Morrell, deputy director of CIA, put him in his book, wrote about him. So you can imagine this young boy is in the midst of all these power brokers in Washington. And his mom's a doctor. His grandpa's a cardiologist in New York. And they had spelled it as they were out of options. And so I agreed to go. He flew me up there, picked me up, took me to Arlington to where they had the 4th of July parades and all this flags and stuff. And I had no clue who I was meeting. I had no idea what I was doing. I had seen a dog miraculously get healed, and I didn't know what happened and how that happened. But these people thought at least we'd try some UFO guy that healed a dog to help this child. So I was terrified. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was praying silently while I'm sitting here in front of this little boy. He's got a feeding tube, and they're telling us he's not going to live.
This is incredible. I didn't know that he got called on by Barack Obama to go heal a kid. Like, I didn't know any of this. Like, did you guys know this? Was this like on the news? Am I just like living under a rock?
Of another year. And I'm with his mom and dad and him. And I prayed all night, Lord, help me. What do I do? So I stayed to 1 o'clock that morning. And this child had mitochondrial DNA disease, meaning he could never eat. If he ate food, he threw it up profusely. He couldn't make nutrients from the food, so he was dying. And once they get to the feeding tube, it's over. Usually they're dead right away. And I stayed to 1 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't an audible voice. It was like this message came, this telepathic knowing. And it said, just hug him. So when I went to leave, I reached out and hugged him at 1 o'clock. His mom asked me to stay the night, and I said, no, I've got a hotel down. And the guy that brought me there, he's reading a book sitting in the back room, right? He stayed with me. And 1 o'clock in the morning, his mom calls me and says he's eating his second plate.
No way, dude.
And so
This was the next morning?
that night at 1 o'clock, I left. At 1:30, his mom called me and said he's eaten 2 plates of food.
30
No
minutes later,
way.
And,
What's this kid's name?
well, to be respectful of the family, I'd rather tell you that off camera, right? But his first name's Brandon.
Are you still in touch with him?
Yeah, he was at my house. I just spent last Memorial Day, Jim from the CIA,
Wait, he's
deputy
still
director,
alive?
called me. Brandon's now 21 or 2 years old.
No.
And he's going off to exchange school overseas. And he'd never been away from home, right? And they wanted me to be with him before he left.
No
And they told me, we know
way.
you're good for him, to be around him. But let me tell you another one. Now he's 13. When he turns 13, he's having a bar mitzvah. First time I've ever been in a Jewish celebration, right? And it was the most amazing thing. This child has given a speech up in this big church in New York City on 48th and Madison. We're in a basement, and everybody that's anybody, from the deputy director to the director of operations to the CIA and all in between, were there. A whole lot of 200 people at least. My son Ryan, and they're out dancing on the floor, and he's, and I'm thinking back, all these people at home that's giving me such a hard time. If I could only tell them what I'm experiencing right now with my family. This is just a moment for me. Suddenly, panic happened. The music quit, and the crowd come off the dance floor. And I'm still sitting at my table with one other person. Everybody's going out dancing. Now, my wife is sitting at the table behind me. She had gotten up, and she's with Debbie, Jim's wife. Very powerful people. The crowd got around me so much they're standing over me, and I feel a person grab me on the shoulders and pulled me through the crowd and said, you got to help him, you got to help him. Well, at their table, this elderly man had passed out forward and was totally pale white. I mean, he was ghost white. All these people trying to revive him, trying to wake him up, couldn't do anything. She dragged me through the crowd to him and said, you got to save him. And I put a hand on each shoulder, and when I did, he went, and he
No way, dude.
And the whole room saw it. And so you can imagine what that did. And that was way back in 2014.
So why? Okay. I just, why isn't this guy going around like healing people? I mean, if this is, I know that that's probably not how it works, but like, I don't know, why isn't he at least trying to go heal people? I mean, he was called by Obama to heal that kid, and then I just, the dog, and oh my goodness.
And it has only gotten more involved with government from there, from its senior service members.
Who was that man?
Who was
The man that you revived?
I knew who he was. He was the father-in-law of one of the people that the guy that actually took me to D.C. the first time to help that little boy. We were all invited to the party, right, to his bar mitzvah, and it was his father-in-law that whatever happened to him, he was totally unconscious there. And so that set me on a path that I had no clue I'd be going down. People, suddenly I've got hundreds saying I'm sick. Can you help me?
Yeah. I mean, that's yeah, that's where I immediately went to as well.
And that's been the hardest thing for me to try to help people, and because I never intended it to be that way. And I don't know that I can do anything. In fact, I don't do anything. It's something greater than I. And I think it's when I think of the divine world, it just comes. But, there's a whole lot in my book about different ones that have experienced this, from cancers gone to this is a long list of people that have had blessings from this.
Could you introduce me to one that would be willing to be on the show?
From this.
Could you introduce me to one that would be willing to be on the show?
I will try.
How many people have you saved?
Well, I don't know that I've saved anybody. I don't like to think like that. But there's
How many people have you been a part of this?
dozens of people every day. It's every day. I can show you. Now I just pray for them, or just if you know somebody that's sick, they might send me a photo now, and I just take the photo out and I hold it up to the heavens and I ask the angels, God. I never pray to angels, I pray to God, and I ask for this help for this person, and I get these letters back. I'm doctor don't know, and it goes for dogs. I had 2 last month, dogs that one was 16 years old and total kidney failure. And the doctors are like, we don't know what happened. They're putting it in their journals trying to figure out what happened. He's back completely functional kidneys and normal.
Are there people out there talking about this?
Yeah. I've been private though, Sean. I haven't shared this. In fact, I hate sharing this publicly because it's going to cause a whole lot more people to come, but it's still part of the story that tells the phenomenon with me, the experience with it. This is why I know it's from the divine world. It's not something with teeth and a ray gun coming here to get us.
Mm-hmm.
It's connected to our thoughts. It'll appear a lot when I ask it, and in front of me and you and others. Not every time, but pretty much on the time. Sometimes 50, 70 orbs will appear.
Okay, you guys can watch the rest of this. It's a 2 hour and 43 minute video. I'm not gonna react to the whole thing. I do want to say though, that's amazing, first of all. And like I said, how can this be demonic? It doesn't make sense to me that this would be demonic. If he's going around healing people, or not him healing people, but using the divine spirit to heal people, or God, praying to God to heal dogs and animals alike, how could that possibly be demonic? I just don't. I think there's a lot of things in this world that we as humans can't really comprehend, but we can have faith in. We can have faith in knowing that these kind of things can be real. It actually gives me a lot of hope. Gives me a lot of hope that in the future there might be a way to be able to look after, people that need help. And that people like him exist. Maybe more people like him can exist, but you have to keep an open mind. I mean, one of the reasons why he's able to do this, he was talking about the skeptics before when he was out on, looking at the orbs and that a skeptic wouldn't see it. It's kind of like the people that have faith in Jesus and faith in God. If you have faith, maybe miraculous things can happen. Maybe miracles are real. Maybe miracles can happen, but you have to have faith in order for those things to happen. I think it's fascinating. I think it's truly fascinating, and I have an open mind when it comes to this stuff. I want to learn more. I believe, this is my belief in this. You can have a different belief all you want. I believe that if you are skeptical or if you think it's the devil or demons, maybe it might turn out to be. But if you are an open-minded person who has faith and believes, well, just maybe miracles can happen. I would love to know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Hopefully you watched the whole video and you heard the end of this to make your determination and not just the beginning of it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if we just all have faith, miracles can be present in our life. I love you guys. God bless. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to watch the rest of it. I'm just not going to react to it on this video, but I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video.